All right, we are live. So we are in daily stillness practice week. And yesterday I asked you to just carve out the small chunk of time, plan the small chunk of time where you would intentionally put in a daily stillness practice. Now, I emphasized it being a small chunk of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. I would say if you're having a hard time carving it out, 5 minutes, that's all you need truly. But you have to carve it out. You have to be intentional with it. You have to plan it. You have to, as I talk a lot about in my groups, you have to say no to something to say yes to this. Because as I talked about yesterday, we are a culture of filling every space, every ounce of our time with something, scrolling, searching, Instagramming, Amazoning, looking up things on our phone, watching TV while we're checking our phone, running from this place to the next, cooking dinner while we're learning this, while we're drinking wine, while we're listening to a podcast and a book right? That's the way our culture is. We've been conditioned to live that way. So please don't just assume that if you come on and you listen to me and you go, oh yeah, that daily stillness practice sounds good, I think I should do that it's going to pop into your life. You have to slow down and intentionally put it in there, which means you're saying no to something else. It might be scrolling, it might be Amazoning, it might be searching, it doesn't matter what it is. You are saying no to, it might be sleep. You're saying no to something else, so you can say yes to this. So plan it, put it in your life. Now the question is what to do. So one of you yesterday had said, I'm trying to pull this back up. One of you yesterday had said, gosh, I know this is going to be problematic for me. I don't slow down like that, right? My mind is active and I don't slow down. Sorry about that. This went away and I wanted to pull up this comment. Well, it doesn't matter. You were saying that you don't slow down, that this was going to be a challenge for you. And here I am coming back to it. Okay. What I want to say to that is, without knowing too much about your history and background, is that oftentimes an overactive mind, if your initial reaction was, I couldn't possibly slow down, like that, that wouldn't work in my life. Likely that says to me that your overactivity is a protective mechanism, right? It's a habitual patterned behavior that is serving you somehow. It's protecting you from something. It's providing you something. And that something is likely some type of avoidance of something else, right? So avoidance of whatever it is that you would feel if you slowed down, avoidance of whatever might come up if you slow down, avoidance of whatever it is that you would be facing. And so if your initial response is, oh, I couldn't possibly do that, my mind needs to be active, my invitation to you, my suggestion to you is to think about it as, it's not that you're going to try to empty your mind. Our mind is never fully empty or blank, but that we're going to flex this muscle of, for snippets of time, shifting your focus and attention on peace or serenity or a specific parasympathetic nervous system activation, that you're going to train your mind to slip into that parasympathetic nervous system activation with this snippet of time. And so for you that was saying your mind is overactive, you don't think you can do this, know that and I happen to know because you have said in the group that there's also struggle with binging in your life. My suspicion is that the binging and the overactive mind are connected because it is a way of dissociation or escape or numbing or not feeling safe to feel whatever it is that's coming up. And so we push it down with a binge, or we push it down with a scrolling, or we push it down with something else. So if your initial reaction is, I couldn't do that, I couldn't possibly do that and slow my mind, my response to you is, you need to. If you think you can't possibly, the more you think you can't, the more you probably need that practice. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. So we've put the time in our calendar, hopefully, minimum of 5 minutes, like I said. And I still wanted to pull up this comment and I don't know where it went. Oh, I know how to find it. I'll search for Healthy for the Holidays because it's right at the top. Okay. There we are. Okay. One of the things, as I go into what you can do in that time that you carved out for yourself, I wanted to come to some of your responses. A couple of you said that, so one of you said, I'm struggling with fatigue. I set what I believe are reasonable tasks and goals for the day, and then I run out of gas. I can't help but feel disappointed, even though I'm truly doing my best. And another one of you said, I'm struggling with the same problem. I struggle at night craving sweets. Okay, before I go into telling you what to put into your daily stillness practice, I want to address this concept of running out of gas at the end of the day or sweets craving at night. There are a number of different reasons why we have cravings, and I don't have time to go into all of them today, but just so we know, all of us as humans wake up with a certain amount of fuel in our gas tank. If we're lucky and we are well rested and we have a daily stillness practice and we practice mindfulness and parasympathetic nervous system activation, if we practice all these things, we're lucky if we wake up with a, let's call it 90% full tank of gas in the morning. 95% full tank of gas in the morning. If you don't sleep well, if you are under chronic stress, if you are eating the wrong kinds of foods, if you're struggling with fatigue, if you're binging at night, if you're doing a number of things, you're waking up with even less gas in your tank for the day. So you're starting at 70% or 60% or 40% if you didn't sleep the night before. And you start with a finite level of resources for the day. And every single decision you make throughout the day pulls from that level of resources, pulls from your gas tank. So what to have for breakfast? What am I going to wear? Am I going to shower? Who's going to take the kids to school? Every single decision you make throughout the day pulls a little bit of gas out of your tank. So if you're waking up with less gas in your tank, you can imagine what happens to your decision-making abilities by the time you get to the evening, right? So by the time we get to nighttime, you're wiped. And so to Lou, who was saying, I'm struggling with fatigue and I set what I believe are reasonable goals and tasks for the day, I would say, become aware, Lou, of how much gas do you start with in your tank? Are you doing things throughout the day to make sure that you start with a relatively full tank of gas each day, right? And then also ask yourself, if I know that I'm going to run out of that gas throughout the day, how can I shift and change my tasks and priorities to front load my day where I feel like I have more energy and maybe I get more done in the beginning of the day? Maybe I do more important tasks in the beginning of the day so that the tasks that I have left at the end of the day, I will be more okay with leaving for tomorrow or not doing it all, right? It is what she's describing is that she's setting what she believes are reasonable tasks and goals. She's running out of gas, and then she feels disappointed on top of that. So that disappointment and shame and guilt on top of it also takes away from the gas tank. And where do we start the next morning, right? We have less gas, we have less gas, we have less gas. So the reason why I'm talking about this now is I believe, Lou, that a good time for you to put in a daily stillness practice would be at the end of your day and give yourself these 5 minutes to replenish your gas tank, to be mindful, to take some breaths, to do some of the things I'm about to talk about so that you are you may not necessarily be putting more gas in your tank at the end of the day, but you are more likely to start off the next day with more gas because you have reset your parasympathetic nervous system at night. A lot to say about that, but again, snippets of time on these things. Okay. So what to do in your daily stillness practice? What are the things that you can do? And I have a list of a few of them. The key here is that there's not a right answer. There's not a single one that, oh, if I do this thing, then, everything else falls into place. The key is that what we're looking to do is to get the mind out of sympathetic nervous system activation, chronic sympathetic nervous system activation, which is stressing over everything, filling every moment, the chronic stress, the chronic worry, the chronic obsession, the ruminating thoughts, right? We're trying to stop that engine from rolling down the path every single day by intentionally popping in these moments of time where we say, come back to self, slow down, trust that I have everything I need in me for healing, right? So a few ways that you can do this simply. Now, some people have a large daily stillness practice, one that, I wouldn't call mine a large daily stillness practice, but I have trained my body to get up between 5 and 5:30 every morning because it's the only hour I have where the house is quiet and empty before anybody else gets up. And that's my daily stillness time. And I know that if I'm not doing it at that time, I likely won't get to it for the day. And in that time, I fill it with any number of things: meditation, gratitude, reflective writing, journaling, intention setting, reflection. And I will be really honest with all of you. There are many, it is still a work in progress for me not to get sucked into scrolling on my phone or getting to write into work emails for the day or things that I need to get done, right? Because your brain, excuse me, I don't even have a cold, but here I am coughing and sneezing on the video with you guys today. I'm saying this as a human to human. I know how to do all of this, and yet it can still be a challenge. My brain wants to take me to more rewarding activities, which is mindless scrolling and spending my time doing things I really don't need to be doing, and I'm working on that. So for those of you that are ready to implement some stillness practices, breathing is one of the most effective and easiest to do because it takes, you can stop and breathe anywhere, right? You don't need anything to do that. So diaphragmatic breathing, if you want to look it up, diaphragmatic breathing is learning to breathe into our belly and expand. And you can look up diaphragmatic breathing, and there are any number of YouTube videos or explanations on how to do diaphragmatic breathing and what it is. We think when we breathe that we breathe in, breathe out. Well, diaphragmatic breathing teaches us that we're actually breathing kind of wrong, that when we breathe in, we should be expanding our bellies. And when we breathe out, our bellies should sort of contract. Okay, so not pull in, but just contract. So when we breathe in, we expand out like a balloon. And when we breathe out, the balloon just loses air. So expand out like a balloon, balloon loses air. Expand out like a balloon, balloon loses air. And so when we breathe in, expand out, breathe out, let it just contract. Now, that is opposite for what many of us do, which is we breathe in and we breathe out, right? You can kind of even see in the body how it can be more stressful. And the argument there, excuse me, is that we don't get as much oxygen to our lungs when we breathe that way as when we expand into the breath and then let it fall. So diaphragmatic breathing, you could look up, you could do that for 2 minutes, really, anytime throughout the day. And you are resetting into your parasympathetic nervous system when you stop and mindfully breathe. Other kinds of breathing you can do, you can breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. You can also look up rhythmic breathing. There's a lot of different types of breath work, but the whole point here being with that 5 minutes of stillness that you have, to slow down and pause and control your breathing, okay? For those of you who have active brains and who feel like I couldn't possibly just sit there and breathe and do nothing. Now, mind you, when you're focusing on breathing, you're training the mind to focus on the breath. So every time your mind starts to wander and to-do list and groceries and who's picking the kids up and because your mind will do that. Our minds are designed to do that, is to pull it back to the breath. I'm focusing on my breath in this moment. I'm breathing in, I'm holding, I'm breathing out. I'm breathing in, I'm going to follow my breath and hold it. I'm breathing out, right? So the practice is of gently directing your focus back to the breath as you're doing this practice. Okay, so that's breathing. For those of you who have an active mind and are averse to breathing, I would suggest some reflective journaling, some reflective writing. And that can be anything. There's a positive impact when we move the thoughts and emotions that are in our body out onto the paper. There's a shift in energy and vibration when we move the thoughts from our body out onto the paper. And for that reason, some reflective writing just in a journal. You can have topics that you want to reflect on. You can ask questions that you want to reflect on. So for instance, excuse me, I wonder if I'm allergic to something in my office today. Sorry, you guys. You can, so for instance, you could write down something like, how am I feeling I'm doing in the direction of my goals? How do I feel like I'm doing in the direction of my health? How do I feel like I'm feeling about my body? How do I feel like I'm feeling about my ability to stay organized or stay focused or whatever it is that you're thinking about or working on? It's ruminating in your head. And so to write that down on paper and to move it out onto the journal is good for us. That helps us reset the nervous system so that we stop going round and round and round like a washing machine in our head and we get it out onto the paper. That can be very cathartic. So reflective writing. If you want to be more specific, you can set your timer for 3 minutes and you can write about gratitude, someone you're grateful for, something you're grateful for, everything in life that you're grateful for, sending love to somebody that's struggling, sending love to somebody that you're struggling with. It's a topic for a whole nother day. I go into it in courses, but sending love out to somebody that you're struggling with can be incredibly cathartic. Sending positive vibration to the people around you. So again, you are training your mind intentionally on purpose in those moments to focus on something. You're training it to focus, to stay focused. I'm staying focused on gratitude. I'm staying focused on sending love. I'm staying focused on changing my energy and vibration in this positive direction for these 5 minutes, right? Small snippet of time. I talked about reflective journal writing. I talked about diaphragmatic breathing. If you're a meditator, obviously, there are things like Insight Timer and Calm app. Insight Timer happens to be my favorite. All kinds of music, meditations, guided meditations, self-directed meditations, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. You can have it as long or as short as you want, where again, you're intentionally pausing to take the moment to train your brain to stay mindful and focused on something, right? So especially for those of you who feel like you have an overactive mind, it is really important for you to say, okay, I'm going to direct my attention in a certain direction on purpose. And a 5-minute meditation or 5 minutes listening to music or 5 minutes setting intentions is, and you do this daily, over time, it starts to flex those muscles, make those muscles stronger that are focused on parasympathetic nervous system activation. So those muscles that are responsible for mindfulness and attention and focus and what am I focusing on and what am I thinking about, as you start to direct that attention, they start to get stronger and you will have an easier time focusing your attention and your direction, right? The last one I'll talk about today is grounding. So grounding in the earth. So walking outside barefoot, whether that be in the grass or on dirt, grounding your energy into the earth. And if that's a little too woo-woo for you all, just know that there is good research to support our connection to the energy and the vibration of the earth, not concrete, not your wood floor, but outside in nature, ideally somewhere where it's, like I said, grass or rocks or dirt, somewhere that's actually connected to the earth, that it helps pull that energy through us and ground us so that we stop circling up here where we are too cognitive and we stay focused and grounded in the body. Again, this is 5 minutes. There's not a single person on this earth that does not have 3 to 5 minutes in their day. If you are still in the story, in the excuse, I'm too busy, I have to this, I have to that, I want you to reframe that into, this is not a priority for me. I am not choosing to prioritize this, because what I promise you is that the busiest person alive has the 5 minutes to be intentional with a practice like this. It's just that we're choosing not to. There's a number of reasons that happens. Again, I know I sound like a broken record. Going into it on in this series is not the right place to do this. Part of it is behavior design. And so when we talk about how habits are formed, when we have the, what's the word? We have vectors that push us up and below an action line. And those vectors that push us above or below an action line, which means I'm going to do something or I'm not going to do something. Those vectors are subconscious and they're powerful. So the vector that pushes me to check my Instagram during my power hour in the morning, that vector is that I'm getting something just a little bit more positive out of checking, my Facebook or something versus doing what I'm about to do. And there's a number of reasons for that. I go into that for a full week of training in the shift, why we do or don't do something and what pushes us above or below the action line and how to deal with that with habit training. But for now, just know that while there's a lot of things pushing on those vectors, whether or not we will or won't do something in our lives, the truth of the matter is we still have to take ownership and personal responsibility for it. If we want to be different, we have to do something different. So if your response to me about a daily stillness practice is, oh, I just don't have time for that, I couldn't possibly do that, my mind is too busy, all those things, what I'm telling you is zoom out at 30,000 feet for everything we've been talking about. Most of the people who are struggling with their body and their weight, they're focused on the content. Just tell me what to eat. Can I have this? Can I not have this? Should I eat sugar? Should I not eat sugar? Should I binge? Should I not binge? Should I macro? Should I this? Should I that? Should I keto? Should I whatever? Too much content. Everything that we're talking about here is the context. And in the context of your life, if you're refusing to have a daily stillness practice, if you're refusing to slow down, if you can't make space or time in your life, you have moments where your body can be in parasympathetic nervous system activation, and your focus on the content of food is never going to get you to where you want to be. You're focused on the wrong things. You're just going to have the same patterns of behavior over and over again with the next diet you try and the next program. And you can white knuckle it until you can't anymore, and then you binge, and then we're back to square one. It is not a content problem. It's a context problem. And these little snippets that we're doing each week are little snippets of the context. And if we're not willing to do the context work, what happens is the content stays the same. Same, different diet, same person. Different diet, same behaviors, right? Okay, that's my tough love for you today. Let me just check on the Facebook to make sure you don't have any questions. Okay, I think we are good for now. Oh, there we are. No questions, no comments there, no comments in the Zoom. So I will see you all tomorrow. I will be asking you what you're going to choose for your daily stillness practice for the next few days. And just let me know where you're going to focus. 5 minutes of your time the next few days. Everybody can do this. All right, all. I will see you tomorrow.